Hello friends and welcome back, I'm Enterprise Architecture. Now, we had finished up our last Minecraft mod pack series, Ocean Block 2, and I was looking for something else to play. I put it out to you, the community, and asked what we want to see me play next, and it turns out that Vintagestory actually won out. Now, I played through a previous series of Vintagestory a while back, and quite frankly, I just got really frustrated with it and kind of gave up. But there have been a lot of changes, a lot of updates, there's a lot more content now, and I figured we'd do a nice, cozy playthrough. So that's what we're doing. It's a heavily modded playthrough, of course. I post a list of all the mods we're using in the chat below. I'll also mention that if you haven't seen Vintagestory, it is a brutal wilderness survival game, and that's not really generally what I play. So we're playing it on passive mode, on peaceful mode. Generally speaking, a lot of the mods we're adding is going to take a lot of the edge off of the game just to make that cozy playthrough a little bit easier. So, what are we going to do if it's not going to be intense battles and fighting monsters? Well, I'm making a list of things that I'd like to get done this series, this playthrough. I think among those things, I want to really consider building a nice little house, a nice little farm again. I really like that part of the process. I want to grow a couple of different interesting crops. I'd love to get some soybeans and some cabbages going. Those are really great to grow, but you know, the basics, flax, all of that, we'll need to do that. I've added some mods in here that include the alchemy mod, and I'd love to play with that a little bit. I haven't done anything with alchemy. I don't really know anything about it. I also want to build a windmill this time, and I'd love to do a big one with 4 rotors and use that to set up an auto forge. And if I'm feeling really ambitious, I might go ahead and go all the way through the steel making process and make myself a set of steel tools and steel armor. I also think this is the time I finally want to try out the tailored gambeson. I haven't done that yet, and I think it would be fun. I also have the mod installed for pet cats. So I would love to have a pet cat to go with the rest of my farm life. But we'll continue working through, adding to this list as we go, and finding new things to do, new adventures to get into. But to get started today, you can see it is a dreary day in the world here of Vintagestory. I found this nice little ruin here as I was exploring the map area, and I did want to mention I did indeed explore a little bit of the map. So I made a nice big loop here around this area just to make sure that this would be a good place to settle. I think it's really important when you're playing Vintagestory to at least try out a couple of different maps and see what really has a lot of the resources you're going to need to be successful. So in this case, I've got a bunch of things nearby that I can use, including a decent amount of native copper that I can pick up. Got some peat over here, found some olivine, I found some tin, and I also found a couple of really nice caves around here that I think are going to have some goodies in it for me. But right here where we are right now, we are in the middle of a nice big ruin, and there doesn't seem to be any monsters in this ruin, so that's a good sign. Although it is still early on, we're only on day 2, but hopefully there are no monster spawners and hopefully we'll be all right. But I figured this would be a good place to start to restore to its original beauty and use this as sort of a good starting point for our operations here. So inside, I started gathering up a few resources as I've gone. I made my first reed chest. That always takes a while. Picked up some copper along the way and some some tin as we found it. And just started storing those. The ruin actually came with a couple of barrels and a ceramic crock, so that's going to be helpful. We don't have to make those to start. And then upstairs, I went ahead and found myself an aged wooden bed so that we could sleep in. I am disappointed that you can't sleep in the canopy bed or the short bed, but that's certainly something. And then there's this straw bed over here too if we get really desperate, but I think the aged wooden bed is going to be the one that we're going to use. But we don't want to let a first wonderful day go to waste here, so let's go ahead and drop off some of our ingredients here, some of the bony soil I found while digging around a little bit, my cattails that I found, and some dry grass, some andesite gravel I'll just have to keep on me right now. Oh, I did have a second one of these where I found some seeds as I was exploring. I went ahead and picked those up as we went as well. So for day 1, I think the first thing I want to do is really get started on some clay forming. I also want to go and see if I can't forage some berries because we are getting hungry right now and we're going to need that. So let's see if we can't go and find some clay, and then we're also going to try and find some food while we are out here. Now, looking at the map, there's probably some clay patches that I have not found. This might be some clay, but it's probably some flowers. I'm not really great at reading the map in Vintagestory. just because I haven't done it in so long, but hopefully we'll find some clay somewhere on this island. If not, I laid a nice long tree trunk across here so we can walk all the way to the other side, to the mainland, and see if there isn't anything over there. So let's just make a nice little loop here, see if we can't find some clay to help start with our endeavor here. Now, ideally we'd be doing this during the day, not at night, and certainly not during the middle of a rainstorm, but you know, we take what we can get at this point. All right. So we also should be on the lookout for any loose flint. That's always going to come in handy. I've got 24 pieces, but we're going to go through that pretty quick as we're doing things here. So may as well grab that. Here's the olivine that I found earlier. There's a lot of it over here, so that's going to help us out later in the game. For right now, it doesn't really have any important purpose for us. Ooh, we've got some woad. That's going to be really nice because that's going to be one of the first dyes we can make. Oh, and we did get lucky. Look at all of this beautiful, beautiful red clay. We're just going to go ahead and grab up a whole bunch of this and probably spend the next good part of the evening doing some clay forming and getting all of this done. Now we added some mods here to this so that when we're doing our clay forming, we can pick a few extra items to make that we couldn't normally do. And one of those that we're going to be making here is one of the molds to make for a saw. So we can actually make a hand saw rather than having to go through the long, arduous process of trying to make a saw with actually having to hammer it out on an anvil. This gives us an early game source of getting a saw, and importantly, that saw will let us get planks. Planks will then allow us to get wood into a barrel-shaped form, and barrels mean we will be able to actually, not barrels, buckets, bucket-shaped form. And the bucket we can then use to be able to carry water around. That means we can start our first farm and our first crops with that. Now, I don't remember if I found enough flax to really get us started here, but hopefully there's enough flax nearby that we can come up with so that we can have a nice little flax farm. Oop, and it looks like we went ahead and broke our very first one of these shovels. We can form another one. And again, I'm using the quick napping so that we literally just hold down the button for napping. That just helps a lot with the repetitive stress motion. Again, you play the game the way that you want to play, friends. There's no one that says that you have to be a purist about turning on one thing or another thing that helps you with accessibility or makes the game more fun for you to play. So that's what I'm doing, making it a little bit easier on my wrists here, a little bit easier on my fingers, not having to go through all of the clicking for that. And we're going to use that for a bunch of things. I think we're also going to end up using that when we are doing the anvil work later. Alright, let's see here. We are at about 400 clay now, so we're getting pretty close to where I want to be. I do want to do a little bit more because I remember some of these molds are relatively large. So one of the mods I'm really excited about here is going to be the beehives mod. I don't think that's the actual name, I'll have to look it up. But the ceramic beehive that you can make gives you a reusable beehive that you can basically drain the honey out of over and over again. And that just is really, really convenient if you want to raise bees. And we are indeed going to raise bees here. I think we'll also raise some animals. I don't love the notion of having to kill animals though. That's not one of my favorite things to do, but depending on how things go in this pack, again, it is a brutal wilderness survival mod pack, or brutal survivalist game, so we might have to actually do a little bit of hunting of animals, because I really don't know of another way for us to get leather and some of the other things you desperately have to survive. So might have to do that, friends, but I will warn everybody before we go and do any of that stuff. So let's see here. I think that's about a good place to start. Let's go ahead and head back towards our base here. Should be pretty easy to still see it outside. Because I believe yeah, there we go. You can see I do have one torch left outside. That'll make it really easy to see. You know, I'm not seeing really any berries over here, though. That's interesting. Maybe we spawned in a biome that doesn't have any? Oh, what do we got here? We've got some turnips, though. Let's see here. That's stage 3 of 5. That's 3 of 5. That's fine. You know, since these are relatively close to being done, I think we will go ahead and leave these. And it looks like my auto markers mod is not actually grabbing these, so we may as well just write it down that we do have turnips here. Most of the time I will grab up vegetables as soon as I see them. I won't wait for them to mature, but again, turnips grow pretty fast, so I think it's worth waiting a little while for that. Oh, and sadly, it looks like this raccoon got mauled by something. So we didn't kill it, but we did get a small hide off of it, and I believe we can also get a little bit of bone off of that as well. These small bones, I think, can be turned into something, or ground, I don't know. Maybe we'll grind them to make our bread, as you do as a giant, I'm not sure. Anyway, let's see here. No, not really seeing any berries over here. That is a shame. We might just have to eat something else that we have on hand here. You're red currant and you're growing, you're flowering, but not actually yet turning into berries for us. No worries. So let's see here, just grabbing up anything we find that's useful. Here is the log bridge that I built earlier. That just gives us an easy way to get back and forth to our little island over here, where hopefully we'll be relatively safe. And let's go ahead and grab up this tin that we found too. We go ahead and grab up all of the nuggets. One thing that I do like to do if I find enough tin is just literally skip right over doing copper and going straight to bronze. I don't feel like there's a really good reason to use copper if you have both on hand, and you can smelt them together in the crucible, I believe. So that's what we're going to be doing. There's some more olivine. I think we've already tagged that, so don't need to worry about that. I guess we're just going to head on back here. Again, just keeping an eye out just in case we find anything that resembles food for us. Ah, here it is, of course. It's the one that we have right here that has a torch over the door. That's how I remember that, because I put that there so I'd remember it. Awfully smart of me. All right, so let's get to our clay forming here. Now, we're going to need a bunch of things. We're definitely going to need to have a crock so we can do some cooking. Or excuse me, what do we call it? The cooking pot? Wherever that one is. This looks a little different from the last time when I played it. Small cauldron. Those are the crocks that we store things. Ah, there we go. That's the cooking pot. That's what we're going to want. So let's do this one first. And let's see here. Let's change our mode to the autocomplete mode. That's just going to save us a little bit on our wrists again. Makes it nice and easy. And this will go pretty quick for us. I think after we do the first layer, it'll actually be faster to do duplicate layer. So let's go ahead and do duplicate layer. Yeah, there we go. That's going along really nicely. And then here we'll go back to autocomplete. There. Now we have a nice crock. That's going to get us started. So we will want to fire that in a little bit. Let's go ahead and start putting this outside in a place where we will likely do our firing. I think we'll probably just build our pit kiln maybe just out here in the open, somewhere that we can easily get to it and don't have to worry about it too much. Maybe back here away from the water, we should be able to just dig up all this grass, dig up all these ferns, and have a nice little space here. Yeah, there we go. All right. So let's go ahead and dig ourselves a pit. There we go. And we'll just put that right in there. Now, the next couple of things we're going to need are going to be a few more of these crocks, and that way we can have some long-term storage. And I think the other thing that we're going to need to do here is going to make ourselves some bowls so that we have a place to store our food. So let's do, yeah, we only need 4 of those, right? Let's go ahead and do this real quick. This is just going to tick through, just take a second. Bowls are shallow, so that's going to be pretty easy for us. Now, I actually got the inspiration to go back to playing Vintagestory because I've been watching a bunch of Kurosawa's streams again. He's a fantastic YouTuber. He has such a nice, relaxing, and calm stream that he does. I think it's twice a week he's doing now. Maybe it's every other week, I'm not sure. I only seem to catch him randomly on Sundays, but what a delightful little stream he's got there. And he's been doing a lot of really, really nice design work and building out a nice little house for himself with some great carving. I think it looks really good. I probably won't get to that level of detail. He is an absolute expert and just spends so much time playing this game. I'm just going to try and do what little I can here with the time that I have remaining. Let's see here. I want to grab all of these up. Go ahead and give me all those. There we go. 4 of those in hand. Okay, great. Let's see. What's next? I think the crucible is probably going to be the most important thing for us. We don't really need 4 of them. We only need 1 for right now. That's how we are going to get our bronze tools. And like I said, I think the really important one that we want to do is definitely going to be the, the handsaw. That's going to be a very, very important one for us. The handsaw is going to be a delightful way for us to get those boards, but there's a couple other things I'd like to make as well. I think certainly starting to make a bronze pickaxe is going to be useful, because then we can launch ourselves into iron as soon as we have a source of iron. I think there might be some iron actually in this biome, so that's certainly something I'm going to keep an eye out for if we can find any as we go. All right, so crucibles are taken care of. Now let's look at those molds again. This gives us a mold for a saw blade, but we want the hand saw. Let's see. Is it? Yeah, it's this one. So the hand saw is a tool that basically acts just like a normal saw, but you can use it to make planks and whatnot. It's just a little bit easier to make. I don't know that it has the same durability. I don't know if you can use it in all of the same recipes as you'd use a saw, but you can certainly use it for making planks, and that is the important thing for us. So let's see here. Slowly but surely, just ticking away at this. It is getting to be very cozy weather season here where I'm at. It's getting a little bit chilly outside, and it's a great time to just curl up with a nice warm cup of something and sit around and drink your beverage. I like tea personally, but you know, whatever you're into, coffee, hot chocolate, or otherwise. Big on tea though, so sitting here having a nice cup of tea, curling up under a blanket, this is perfect winter weather. And I've got a little bit of time to kill, so just trying to make a slow pace of this. We don't need to rush through everything like we normally do. Sometimes we can just take some time, enjoy ourselves, listen to the gentle rain in the background, and just play a little bit of game. There we go. All right, there's my handsaw mold. All right, that's looking pretty good. Our inventory is starting to look pretty full, and it is now daytime too. That's great. So let's take this and dig ourselves another little pit here. Just like this. I really wish the pits could be connected. As far as I am aware, they cannot. They need to be at least a block away from each other. So this is how we're doing it. They may have changed that since I've played the game, but as far as I know, that's the case. That's a limitation. All right. So that's 3 there that we're going to have to fill in. That doesn't mean we also are going to have to get some firewood here at some point, so we'll have to think through that. All right. What else is on our agenda for the immediate firing here? I don't know that we need a saucepan just yet. We don't need the spiles yet. I will do some of that later. Herb racks. That's something we're going to want, but don't need to do that today. Here's that ceramic hive that I mentioned that I would really like to get up and running. I think that's going to be useful. We could go ahead and start on our anvil just to have that going for us, but I think the one thing I'd love to have is going to be a storage vessel. I think that's going to be really important. And let's go ahead and do a pickaxe mold as well. Let's start with that one. Pickaxes, again, are going to be really important. Definitely need to do some mining here. This game was originally made, I believe, by a team that had been doing a Minecraft mod. So, much like Minecraft, mining is a key part of this game. I don't think it's nearly as important in this game as it is in Minecraft, but it is still a critical feature of the game. So yeah, just a second here, and we're going to have our nice little pickaxe mold all done and taken care of. So I believe when I was adventuring, I realized that we are, like I said, in the right area to be able to have a iron node of some sort. So iron only appears in certain rock layers, and the one that we are in should be the correct one, or in this rock vicinity, I should say. What I am regretting, though, is that I did not find any limestone yet. I really like building with limestone. I think it's awfully pretty. But I don't think there's any nearby here. Lime, obviously we also need to make quick lime, which we're going to use for some stuff as well. So we will have to go on an adventure at some point and see if we can't find some lime. But this will do for now. We're just getting started. We don't have to rush into that. Just thinking through all of the things we're going to need to work through later on. All right, there is our pickaxe mold all done and taken care of here. Let's see here. We don't really need a prospecting pick yet. Something to think about later. Let's see here. I think we already did a crock, didn't we? I think we made at least a crock. Maybe we didn't make crocks yet. Well, let's go ahead and make up a set of crocks then while we're doing it. Even if I already did this and I'm just doing it a second time, we're certainly going to use them. We're going to be needing to store food over the longer term, and this is going to be important for us. Oh, I hear the chickens going. It's 6 a.m. All right. That does also mean we have chickens nearby, so we could have a source of eggs on our hands, which would be really, really nice. Again, I have no qualms about eating a few eggs here if we are raising chickens. I think that'll be a nice way to do it. All right. Let's see here. Getting these crocks done. Slowly but surely. Maybe we did already do crocks. Oh well. Short-term memory. Okay, so while we're at it, let's go ahead and make ourselves up a storage vessel. I think these are going to be really useful to have. These are great both for storing food, which is the main purpose of them, but moreover also, it's just a really easy way in early game to have a storage container that has 12 slots. So these are pretty cost effective for us to do here. We're just going to go duplicate layer here, fill this in real fast. So yeah, super convenient method of having storage in early game before we can get access to chests, which means we're going to have to make some strips with the nails and the whole thing, and then that requires going through with and smelting some copper, and yeah, that's just going to be a lot of extra work for us at this particular moment in time, but these are easy. We can just create a whole bunch of them and then fire them, and they'll be ready to be used. I think I'm probably only going to make one right now just because it takes a decent amount of clay to make these, and also it's, you know, not the most fun to watch just making the same clay item over and over again. So we'll do more of that probably in the future. So let me get this one finished up real quick. All right, and there we go. Let's grab this up and we'll go ahead and put this down into our fire pit as well. We'll just dig another hole. This can go right here. Right, that's perfect. Okay, and we'll dig up a few more holes here because we need to put all of these in the ground. I really wish that you could just have a single connected pit, but as far as I know, that doesn't work. So yeah, let's just, nope, that's, why aren't you going where I want you to go? Let's try that again, put you in the corner. There we go. No one puts storage containers in a corner, or however that goes. I don't remember. Anyway, we'll get these put down here, and let's see. Now all we need is what? Grass and sticks and some firewood or some peat or something to go on top. There's not a lot of grass over here, so we're just gonna have to yeah, mow a whole bunch of grass. This will go a lot faster once we get a scythe to be able to cut through all of this. We can just cut down a 9x9, or excuse me, a 3x3 square all at once. 9x9 would be awfully nice though. Oh, and there is peat right here. So this is probably what we should use to actually heat up these pits. Because again, this is gonna be a lot quicker and easier for us than necessarily going through and cutting down a bunch of trees. So let me dig this up real fast. Shoveling is much faster than tree cutting, generally speaking. So, oh yeah, and there's a nice big vein of it down here. This is gonna work out really well for us. Okay, let's see. Yeah, this just keeps kind of going and going. I haven't really seen a formation like this where it's underground and basically a vein of peat that I can remember. Usually it just sits right there near the top. Yeah, this goes way back. Okay, yeah, this is a lot of peat for us. Hopefully that'll be enough for this set of firings at least. Maybe a little bit more, but it should be pretty close. Now, we just have to remember the order. I think it's sticks first? No, it's not sticks first. It's straw first. Yes, that's right. I know what I'm doing. Professional YouTuber here. Put this down. Oh, and we are already out of grass. Okay. Well, let's just cut down a little bit more grass here in the rain. Just enjoy the pleasant sounds of rain trickling in. I know a lot of people find rain to be a very, very calming sound, but I don't personally actually love it that much. It honestly makes me a little anxious. Mainly, I guess, because I'm just terrified that it means I'm hearing like something leaking or something. Having a very old house means every time it rains, you do double check to make sure that a new leak hasn't appeared anywhere. I literally just put a new roof last year on my house because we had so many leaks in this 1800s place that we bought. So yeah, always something new breaking. All right, so let's go ahead and put this down. Yeah, we need to fill that one up that we didn't finish filling. Get the storage vessel here, and then our bowls. That should be everything. I think sticks go next. There we go, sticks. Don't need a lot of those. Those do not go there. Okay, there we go. And there we go. And now I think we just top them up with peat. Let's see here. Yeah, grab up our peat and put this over here for peat's sake. There we go. Just like that. And the storage vessel takes twice as much. Yeah, there we go, 8 pieces instead. All right. Our inventory is awfully full here, but we need to switch things out so we can get the torch into our main hand, and that will let us light these up. Okay, firing it up. Slowly but surely getting these lit. Oh, that noise. Okay, what mistake have I made? The obvious one. These are open to the open air right now, and it is raining. And so because Vintagestory is a game that tries for some realism here, even though this dirt is floating in midair, this does mean that the rain is putting out my fire. Unlike in Minecraft, you can't just leave fires lit here. Torches also will go out if they're left out in the rain, unless they're in a torch holder, I believe. So that's something to keep in mind. And torches themselves actually just go out after, I think it's a period of, what is it, like 2 days or something, if they're just left to their own devices anyway. So that's going to be something to keep an eye out for here. But now that this is covered, it will indeed light up and stay lit, even though in reality the rain would probably blow in from the side and put these out immediately just as quickly. But this will work for our purposes here. And yeah, it looks like everything is lit. And that peat should burn a little faster than it would have if we use firewood. So that's going to get going. And hopefully we can come back, I don't know, tomorrow. And it should be all done, or at least after a nice little sleep. Now, if we are going to be doing any sort of copper or bronze melting in that crucible that we made, we are going to need to make charcoal. So what I need to do here is dig myself up a nice little pit. Not a big one, just enough for the firewood that we've got. So we want to fill all of this in with firewood. We have a couple of logs here that should be enough to make a decent amount of firewood. Maybe a little more. Yeah, let's just do a stack or so. We'll start with that and see how far we get. And it's going to burn hotter as charcoal than it would as firewood, or even than peat will. And that's going to be necessary because all of the metals that we are going to be smelting require at least charcoal temperature. So let's go ahead and stack this up here. And the way that we do this is we stack up a couple of cords of our firewood. Actually, we do need to make more than that. So let's go make another stack. And then we cover it over with dirt. We make a small fire pit in one square, and once that's lit, we close in the fire pit as well. And then that will slowly smolder and make our charcoal. So this is very similar to how you actually make charcoal in real life. Anybody that's watched the Primitive Technology channel, he also has a wonderful, wonderful YouTube channel where he lives out and does survival stuff in the wilderness, and you can watch him actually make charcoal, and he keeps trying to find more and more efficient ways of making charcoal. It's really an absolute delight, honestly, to watch. I know it sounds absolutely boring, but I think it's fantastic to watch. He did some iron smelting. He's done all sorts of things on there that, again, is really neat and doesn't make me want to go and live in the wilderness, but does make me want to play a lot more Vintagestory. Okay, so if we did our job properly, we should see the smoke particles coming off of that, and we do. There's little smoke clouds. So this is indeed working for us, and all we have to do, oh wait, no, we don't want to break that one. We leave that one alone because that's actually over top of part of the charcoal too. So that should all cook down. The charcoal should be ready about the same time, more or less. Well, we are about out of time, and I think that's a pretty good place to stop for today anyway. We've got our fires going now. That means we're going to have a whole bunch of new materials to craft with in the very near future. And then we can start using that to make some more interesting things and keep progressing through the pack a little bit. Like I said, leave me some comments and feedback below here. Tell me what you'd like to see me to do in this playthrough, anything you want to see me take on particularly, anything you want to see done that you haven't seen done. Always happy to take on a little challenge or two along the way. But next episode, I think we need to go foraging. I think we are just about out of food, and that's going to be a problem for us. For now, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you back here next time. Bye, friends.